week's episode of The Nightcap, of course, with your host, Charlene Clark Cura. Last week, we spoke about why people cheat by exploring various scenarios that could cause cheating in a relationship. Listeners, you participated and of course, you shared your opinions, some of which I did not read on air, but thank you for your participation. Before commencing this week's show, I of course must say thank you to all our listeners near and far who continues to make the Supreme Vibes Radio their radio station of choice. Do remember to participate in our discussions. You may WhatsApp your questions or your comments to 1-877-367-0127. That's 1-876-367-0127. Listeners, WhatsApp. As soon as we are able to take calls, I will definitely let you know, and then we can move from WhatsApp to voice calls. Or you may also log on to the Supreme Vibes Radio webpage and log into our chat room, and there you can share your opinions, ask your questions, state your comments, whatever it is in the chat room as well. You may also follow me on Instagram at Designed to Inspire, and that too is spelled TWO. So it's Designed TWO Inspire. This is the Nightcap Show, a show that will pique your attention, enhance your discussion, and of course, heighten your relationship appetite. You are listening to your host, Charlene Clark.
Zongo zongo go zongo zeng. Zongo zongo go zongo zeng. Hey, this is King Yellowman, and I'm in Boston. Charlene Clark. King Yellowman said that. How you doing? Support her, my people, my fans.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the author and guests to the show and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the radio station. Assumptions made in the discussions are not reflective of the position of any entity other than the author and the guest, and since we are critically thinking human beings, these views are always subject to change, revision, and rethinking at any time. Please do not hold us to them in perpetuity.
Now, listeners, I came under a bit of fire last week, and of course I quite like it. I liked it, I like it, I enjoy it. Keep the fire burning. But last week we spoke about cheating, and I was asked to continue the topic this week because some persons felt as though, I did not speak much to certain issues, and they wanted me to continue this week. And of course, I also, after the show for 3 hours, I was still in discussion with some of our listeners about the topic. Last week, listeners, it was phenomenal. Now, one of my listeners alluded to the fact that it is not hard for a woman to have more than one partner, and I should reconsider my point where I said, that it is hard for cheaters to maintain the relationship. No, I was not really just looking at the physical connection, but I was even looking at the mental state that having more than one partner would put you in. Now, listen. To have more than one partner, then you would have to be making excuses sometimes. You would have to be lying sometimes. You would have to be hiding sometimes. You would have to be sharing space sometimes. And that is a part that I was mostly referring to, being an individual who is always hiding, who is always having to share oneself, and in doing so you cannot do it openly because neither of the partners know whether it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, however many you can manage, but they do not know about each other, and so you have to ensure that you practice certain lies, and they're not white lies anymore, right? Big lies to maintain the relationship, and that in and of itself must be hard. It must be hard, right? But again, it's our opinions, and thank you for sharing. Another listener stated that I sounded a bit biased towards the male gender. So I was a little bit, in their opinion, I was a little bit biased toward the male gender. No, it's not about being biased, but you see, remember that our male partners, they were not trained to deal with their emotions. They were trained to hide their emotions somewhat. So they, growing up, they were told not to cry, not to talk about certain things, because if you talk too much about certain things, you sound like a girl, right? So they were not properly trained, if at all, how to deal with their emotions. And so into adulthood, what you find is that as wives, as girlfriends, as partners, we have to understand that men were not trained to deal with their emotions like we were. You know, we are females, so we're the softer tone, so we can cry, we can talk about certain issues on, and nobody would, degrade us, right? But the men were trained to be strong. Matters not how he was hurting inside. And so if we understand that, we would know that simple things that we do in a relationship can cause a great emotional distress on our men. But they were not trained to deal with it the way how we were trained to deal with it. And so they hold it up inside, right? And then it becomes a bigger issue. So it's not about me being biased towards the men. It's just the fact that they were in terms of upbringing, I believe that they were at a disadvantage when compared to the females, right? Because they were not allowed to express hurt, pain, that sort of thing. Even love, they're not. If a man tells a woman, if a man is in a group of friends, male friends, and his woman calls him and he's mushy and flying, throwing kisses over the phone, and baby, I love you so much, and you're the darling, his friends are going to laugh at him, because that is not supposed to be a man. A man's supposed to be like, okay, I'll see you later, I'm here with the friends, I'll be home shortly. So they were not trained to deal properly with their emotions. So in my view, they are an emotional wreck men, because they really don't know how to deal with their emotions. They were not trained. And then there was the phone issue. I made mention that when you cheat, you have to be hiding your phones, because calls will be coming in, and you don't want that person that you're currently with to hear the conversation. So you ignore the calls, or you put your phones on silent or on vibrate, or you simply put your phones in another room, or you leave them in the vehicle. And I also stated that it's good to have both partners sharing the passcode to each other phone. And why did I say that? Why did I say that? Because I came under fire. Yeah. One listener told me that, yes, my phone rings, but she doesn't answer it, and I do not answer her phone. Another listener said, well, then, if you search for something, you will find something. But what I meant, listeners, is if I have my husband's passcode and he has mine, it's not about going in his phone to search. The moment you begin to search your partner's phone means that there is some trust issue in the relationship, because you're searching the phone because you do not trust your partner, right? So it's not about me having the passcode so I can search his phone. I never search his phone, and he never searches mine. However, sharing the passcode means that, if needs be, and I can use your phone, you use my phone, I use your phone, it doesn't really matter. There's nothing in the phone to hide, right? But again, I am not suggesting, ladies, wives, girlfriends, please do not beat down on your men. I am not suggesting that he should give you his passcode, or ladies, I'm not suggesting that you should give your man your passcode. I am suggesting whatever makes it comfortable for you in the relationship. As long as there is trust, then do just that. All right, I just wanted to clear that up, because those were three main areas of the discussion after the show, when the show ended last week. Now, tonight's topic is Are we meant to be monogamous? Monogamy. Are we meant to be monogamous? And when we talk about monogamy, when we talk about monogamous, really and truly, it's about having one partner. And let me fix that. Having one partner at a time. At a time meaning, well, if you're with an individual in this moment of time, then this is the individual that you're with. But if you separate and you go your separate ways and you begin another relationship, for that moment in time, that is the only person that you're with. Monogamy. Do you believe in it? Are we meant to be monogamous? Is it true? Is it real? Is it unnatural? Is it natural? What do you say? What do you believe about monogamy? Remember, you can participate by WhatsApping your opinion, your questions, your comment to 1-876-367-0127. I do not want to go church on you, but a lot of people, when they decide to explain monogamy, they reach for the Bible, because that's the best way to explain certain situation. Because if the Bible says it, then naturally we would want to abide by it, because the Bible is the book of law. So it's not about me going church on you right now, but let's listen to some of the verses as it relates to monogamy. Corinthians 7 verse 2. It states, but because of the temptation to sexual immorality, each man should have his own wife, and each woman her own husband. So because of sexual immorality, the temptation for that, we are weak to the flesh, right? Human beings are weak to the flesh. And then remember how we find attraction, how we are attracted to the other party. And so because of this sexual immorality that exists, it is based on 1 Corinthians verse 2, Corinthians 7 verse 2. It says that each man should have his own wife, and each woman her own husband. Another verse, Genesis 2 verse 24 says, therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. So these two verses, I won't go to church anymore. These two verses are suggesting that, listen, in order to ensure, or in order to focus on one partner, you are to engage this particular individual. This person is your wife, this person is your partner. And in order to eliminate, eradicate, avoid sexual immorality, ensure that you have your own wife, ensure that you have your own husband. But therein lies the problem. Therein lies the problem. You see, many of us and listeners, yes, my phone is going off. many of us will agree, or can agree, that we have heard the saying that, being in a relationship for far too long makes way for boredom. You become bored, you become stagnant, you become used to the individual. Nothing seems to excite you anymore. The relationship is like, this is a very regular saying, the relationship is like a brother and sister relationship. Yeah, we don't argue, yeah, we don't fuss, we don't fight, we understand each other. 2 weeks and yes, we're sleeping beside each other, but we don't have any sexual drive for each other. We're like brothers and sisters, and that's okay, because she's my wife and I am her husband. That is okay. No, it's not. No, it's not. Because what happens there, and this is, I'm leading back into monogamy, because it is really stemming from cheating as well. Well, both are aligned. What happens there is that one partner is becoming uninterested in the relationship. right? And if the individual is no longer have that spark for the relationship, then it means that it doesn't necessarily mean that the person has lost his or her groove, right? It doesn't mean that. The person might lose his or her groove for the individual, but however, the groove is still there. But because of the monogamous relationship, the fact that we are together forever, or for what seemed to be forever, we become so used to the same things that we do day in, day out, and so we are no longer interested. There is not much flame. There is not much flame in the relationship, and so what does that lend to? Cheating. The question is, are we meant to be monogamous? Now, if we are meant to be monogamous, it would mean that it doesn't matter, it would not matter how bored you become being in a relationship with one partner. It would not matter if the fire is not burning as bright as it used to. Now listen, anything, when you get a new car, just think about it. When you purchase a new car, or ladies, if your husband purchase a new car for you for your birthday, for a gift you a new car. When you get that car, the car is well kept. You ensure that you practically wipe your feet before going in the car. Then you ensure that it's not loaded with shoes and handbags and clothes. The car is new and fresh, right? Nobody can drive that car but you. But give yourself 3 years with the car becomes like a mini home. Shoes packed everywhere, anybody can drive the car. You don't really have that interest in the car anymore because it's the newness of the car is no longer exists. That is how many of us treat our relationship. The newness of the relationship no longer exists. And I say to you, if monogamy is aligned to the newness of relationship, then it means something is wrong with or being as it relates to being in a monogamy relationship. Being in a monogamy relationship should not be aligned to anything but the fact that we are meant to be monogamous. I hope I'm not confusing you. Now, mammal, based on research, it was stated that 9% of mammals are monogamous. We are from the mammal group as well, right? So 9% are monogamous, meaning that they hold to one partner. And human beings would be, in awe. Wow, that is just great. And the mere fact that would bring some sort of excitement. It means that you really don't believe in monogamy. Is it that you are just entering in monogamous relationship because society prescribe monogamous relationship? How does society prescribe monogamous relationship? If you marry in certain countries, if you marry more than one person, then you can get in trouble with the law, right? So the society prescribe and also encourages monogamous relationship. Is this the way we should be in a monogamous relationship? All right, so let's get back to mammals. So the research suggests that 9% of our mammals are monogamous. The nature of sexual encounters with our mammals, right, is really to reproduce. So sexual encounters is just for reproduction. That's why you have seasons. You have the dog season where it's a season, it's a time now where dogs would enter in sexual encounters. You have the bird season. You have seasons for our mammals, because outside of the season then you don't have those kind of sexual encounter. Now the season now predicts that reproduction will happen, therefore they engage in these sexual encounters because of the need to reproduce offspring. A dog is not part of the 9%, right? So a dog would reproduce with many different dogs during the various season, right? Because it's just reproduction, and during the season it's however many dogs that are there, bitches and bulls that are there that would form a part of that type of encounter for the reproduction. Now, when it comes to the higher being of mammals, human beings, we do not engage in sexual encounters because of reproduction. We don't. There are a plethora of reasons why we engage in sexual encounters. One of which, yes, is for reproduction, but most of it is never for, especially for the females, and it depends on your age group, and it depends on your career goals. It depends on your liking. You never engage in sexual encounters because of reproduction. Some of the males there as well, they do not want children. Females, they do not want children. However, the sexual encounters still happen. So we engage in sexual encounters for a plethora of reasons, while the lower group of mammals, they engage in sexual encounters for the purpose of reproducing. Are we meant to be monogamous? No. Some of the reasons we engage in sexual encounters include, okay, I just like you and I want to see what you have to offer. I want to see what you're like, behind closed doors. I believe there is something that you can do for me, so I do not want to sound this week as though I am vouching for just the males, right? Because I'm looking at it, I'm being neutral here, okay, listeners? I'm not just vouching for the males, I'm neutral. I, as a female, believe that if I lay with you, then there is something in it for me. So it's either because of status, it's either because of money, or it's either because of some type of network, something that you can do for me to better my life. And so I will engage in sexual encounters with you. And that type of sexual encounter becomes a long-term kind of a situation. We'll talk more about that in segment 2. Another reason is, let's talk about those persons who want to migrate. We're keeping it real, listeners. And so I will engage in sexual encounters because I feel that this will help me with my migration. I want to live in another country, and I want to, engage and call you my partner, so that it will make the process easier for me. And so that is done, and then we become, somewhat of a long-term partner. And there are more reasons. Sexual encounters might just be work. I'm doing this because it's my job, and you know exactly what I mean, listeners. So there are a lot of reasons why we engage in sexual pleasures outside of reproducing. I want to say this. Many of our children were not born because they were planned. So most of the times when we enter in relationship, reproduction is not at the forefront of our minds. Many of the time when we enter in relationship, we enter because we love the person, we want to be with the person, and whatever else with the person. But then outside of that, and the numerous time of engaging in sexual pleasures, of course, children are born. But most of the times, many of our children were not planned. They arrive, because of either the longevity of the relationship, and so people, of course, partners become comfortable. So no longer are we using protection, and of course, the children come. Or they arrive because we have some other modus operandi. There are parents who plan their children and say, well then, for the first year, I'm going to... And sometimes it's pressure. Listeners. Sometimes especially for newlyweds, as soon as you get married, the next question from every single family members: when are you going to have the child? When is the child? What time? Everybody, your biological clock begin to tick in all the family members and some of the friends. And so because of that pressure, you proceed to encounter in a relation in sexual pleasures because you want to reproduce. But most of the time, if you look at it, if even look at your relationship, listeners, I beg you, and be honest with yourself. Is it because of reproduction? No. We enter because we love each other, we want to be with each other, and naturally, by being together, it is expected that children will arrive out of this harmonious relationship. But it's not that I see you and say, well then, whoa, you look to be a strong man, you have good muscles, and so I want your genes, and so let's get together so that we can reproduce because I want your genes. No. That's never it. And so the mammals, 9% monogamous, have a polygamous type of relationship, right? And well, not right relationship, we're talking about animals, but encounters. But for human beings, we enter in relationship because of various reasons outside of reproducing. Listeners, we are going to take our very first music break.
JN money card sent from abroad. JN money card. But when my land up a JN, me get the money card with them. Just show them your ID and give them your TRN. Go and use at the ATM or swipe instead then. And when you need more cash, and make your family send it in a flash. From abroad to card, get the JN Money Card. It's safe, convenient, and free.
Now, moving out of the mere fact that human beings do not enter a relationship because of reproduction purposes. Now, monogamy requires us to be in a relationship with one individual. No. Let us look at some other mitigating factors as it relates to relationship and how we enter in relationship. We find attraction to the opposite sex for various reasons, whether the person look a particular way, and I spoke about this last week. Whether the person look a particular way, which could be, the natural look or how the person dress or what the person do, whatever it is, and we find attraction there. Many a times when we enter relationship, we forget to understand the real purpose of entering into this long-term relationship. And monogamy, part of monogamy means that, okay, we're married. Marriage suggesting that this should be a monogamous relationship, because the Bible also tells you that outside of sexual promiscuity, if a man divorce and marry another, that is adulterous. Yes, that is adultery. So monogamy and marriage suggests monogamous relationship. So that is why, gentlemen and ladies, that is why you get married, because you want to be in a monogamous relationship. But what we tend to forget is this: once we enter and we decide that this is our relationship that we're in, we forget to stop looking, we forget to stop engaging, we forget to stop entertaining, we forget that we need to draw a border, maintain a border. And so many of us, we continue in our relationship as though we are single, as though we are courting, as though we are dating. And what I mean is this: if you're in a marriage, you're in a monogamous relationship, yet some persons would say that it makes them feel good when another person looks at them. It makes them feel good to flirt. And I flirt without reason. No, that's not true. You flirt with reason. Many persons say it. If you've never heard it, listeners, I've heard it many a times, especially from the ladies. I flirt without reasons. Then why do you flirt? And if your reason is just to feel good, that is a reason. However, in a monogamous relationship, it should mean that you are so satisfied in your relationship that absolutely nothing else matters. For you to understand and believe that you are meant to be monogamous, it means that once you enter in a relationship, absolutely no one else matters. Now, I ask the question, and I will continue to ask the question at the end of the show, because I haven't done no survey. We're just sharing our opinions. Are we meant to be monogamous? If you are meant to be monogamous, listeners, if you are, and I challenge you to do some self-retrospection, right? If you are meant to be monogamous, it means that once you enter in a long-term relationship, you call him yours, he call you his, right? Or whatever the situation is, right? Once you enter into that type of relationship where you now are with each other, if you find that you're interested in someone else, then you're not meant to be monogamous. Talk to me. Talk to me. If you find that you are engaging someone else, then listeners, you're not meant to be monogamous. To be monogamous means that you're fulfilled with the person that you're with, that nobody else matters. Not well, you see my patois coming in. Yes, listeners, those who don't understand it, WhatsApp me and let me know so I can teach you, because sometimes, especially when I'm passionate, it comes out. So if you not feel like sex, you feel be in a monogamous relationship, then you need not get married, because once you become married, once you become couple, once you take his name or he gives you his name, once you enter in a marital relationship, you are suggesting that you believe in monogamous relationship. And once you are suggesting that you believe in a monogamous relationship, it means that you would have understood what monogamy means, and you would abide by the criteria of a monogamous person or of a monogamous relationship. Now, if that's not you, and I am speaking real, because sometimes we say that, okay, we want to enter in a particular relationship, we want to see, I'm reading my messages as I speak with you. So we want to enter in a relationship and we want to get married so badly. And yes, before we get married, you want to sit in front of the pastor for some counseling and all these foolishness. Sorry, but to me, no, for me, I had to, because if I didn't, probably the pastor would not have engaged in the ceremony. I had to. It's prescribed as well. Remember, anything that you do on the face of this earth, if they tell you that there is a heaven, you have to follow the laws of man before you can reach to heaven. Isn't that strange? So it's prescribed. It was prescribed. It's a part of the prescription that I had to take, that my husband and I had to take before we became married. Yeah, so we had to sit in front of the concert. But that does not make practical sense, because in truth and in fact, when the pastor, who is a counselor at the time, post questions to you. Oh, why do you want to get married to him? Why do you want to get married to her? Of course, you're not going to tell the pastor, honestly, we're going to get married because we want a green card. Or, of course, you're not going to tell the pastor, honestly, I'm getting married to him because him have enough money. Well, in English, pastor, I am getting married to him because he has a lot of cash. Okay? You're not going to do that. You're going to sit in front of the pastor and tell the pastor what the pastor wants to hear. Talk to me. So does it even make practical sense for the counseling before the marriage? Because both of us are going to sit in front of the pastor and tell the pastor some beautiful things. And the pastor said, oh, bless you, you're a couple that was meant to be. But deep in the back of your head, say, no, that's not true. I'm just telling you this because I want you to come at my wedding and do what you need to do, so that tomorrow we can start what we need to start. We can start building the mansion, and I can start calling myself the husband or the wife, and I get what I want. But in truth and in fact, I'm telling you what you want to hear so that you can sign off on the marriage. So if you are meant to be monogamous, you really don't need counseling. That's where I'm going. If we are meant to be monogamous, we really don't. Society prescribe to us and say, well then, monogamy is the way to go. Have one woman, have one man. If you have two women or more, then you are seen to be all sort of names. In Jamaica, we have different names for that. For the men though, the men are praised. If they have two or more women, they are praised. But for the women, they are disgraced, right? And that is how it goes, right? But the society prescribe and say have one partner because monogamy is it, and then again the same society prescribe that if you are going to get married, seek marriage, do marriage counseling before. And so I'm not sure if it happens in all in all countries where that prescribe monogamous relationship, but before marriage ensure that you sit with the pastor or the counselor to talk about things in your relationship, just to ensure that you're ready for each other. So how contradicting it is, in my opinion, listeners, that if we are meant to be monogamous, we need counseling before we decide to get married. How contradicting? Because if I'm monogamous, I don't need the counseling. A monogamous person knows that once I take you on to be my own, then that is it. But the purpose of the counseling is to ascertain whether or not you understand what you're getting into, whether or not you understand that this is marriage. And so because this is marriage, you have to put everything aside. For those of us who are married, you can talk because you know some of the things that the pastor tell you. Oh, do you have any form? I had to answer the question 10 times. I count them. Were you ever married before? 10 times. I don't know what the pastor heard about me. I had to answer the question 10 times. Never married, but he asked me the question 10 times. You know, just to see it in many different ways, just to ensure that I'm telling the truth, right? So if it is that we are meant to be monogamous, why do we have a counselor? Why do we have a pastor sitting in front of us telling us that, listen, you're going to get married now, so if you have that ex-girlfriend who continues to text you, ensure that you break it off. If you have that girlfriend who you like somewhat and she likes you, ensure that you break it off. If you have that male friend who continues to buy you gifts, ensure that you don't accept his gift anymore. What we don't need that. Are we meant to be monogamous? Society, talk to me. Somebody in the society. I don't know if we have any of the persons who prescribe these medicine listening in. But if we have anyone who prescribe the medicine for us, tell me, are we meant to be monogamous? And if we are, why do you prescribe this kind of prescription for us when we are exercising our monogamous rights? If we are meant to be monogamous, why do we have to feed on these prescriptions to exercise our monogamous rights without you having to tell us, seek counseling? What is the purpose of counseling? Alright, so let's move out of that a little bit. So we enter into our relationship because we want to yes, I will read all the comments in after this second break. Don't worry, keep them coming in. We enter into a relationship because we want to be with this individual. Now, if you find that you are not an individual who is satisfied, who is going to be satisfied with one partner, because it's just like greed. Maybe I'm using some very strong words here, listeners, but you would understand. It's just like when you buy your home and you purchase your home and you live there for years, and after say 10 years you decide that you've outgrown this house, this home, and so you begin to house hunt again. Or possibly you buy your home and you were invited to your friend's home in a nice community, and the home just looks so nicer than yours, and because of that look you decide that, listen, I want to upgrade as well, and so you decide to sell and upgrade because your friend live in another community that you believe is a better community for you. It's the same kind of thing. We always want to elevate. We always want more. It's just that person who says, well, listen, for me to be comfortable in my job, I would need a pay increase. And as soon as the salaries increase, they're thinking about how soon is the next increase, right? We always want more. We desire more. We desire more, and we desire best. And in the relationship, sometimes it's like that. We desire more. And so women and men in relationship becomes complacent, comfortable, and so the admiration, the affection somewhat dwindles, and so somebody else become more appeasing to the eye, and that in and of itself would cause us to become weak to the flesh, because we are now, lusting, as the Bible would put it. You're lusting. Are we meant to be monogamous? I don't know. You tell me. So if this is the situation, if this is the case, then it means that if you find that you're an individual who likes to look, who likes to lust, who believes that, who really do not believe in a one man, one woman situation for a lengthy period of time, do not get married. Because once you get married, you are solidifying the monogamous prescription that was prescribed for us. So do not get married. Right? It's not counselor you need, it's self-retrospection you need. What you need is for you to sit down and analyze. Yes, you might not be the individual for marriage, and that is okay, because again, society is what tells us that, oh, married. The Bible says take a woman and call her your own. I'm not going to church, but many people would use the Bible to explain these things, because it is so hard to sit and have a discussion without the book of law about monogamous, because it's like blasphemy. And so a lot of people believe that if you talk without the Bible about monogamy and the situation surrounding monogamy, you're blaspheming. But I will take it on, right? So if you realize that you're the individual who believes that you should be sharing yourself, you believe in newness. I've had acquaintances who tell me that they enjoy the newness of relationship, and so because they enjoy the newness of relationship, their relationship only lasts 6 months, because after 6 months it's not new to them anymore, they move on. No, let us not judge, because it's not our place to judge. That is the way those particular individuals decide to live. That is the way those particular individuals decide to go about their relationship. Now the problem would be now if an individual like that who enjoys newness of relationship decide to get married, solidifying monogamy, then it means that there is going to be grave issue in the relationship, because that individual is not a monogamous person. And even though they are going to sit in front of the marriage counselor, it still does not mean it's going to fix the relationship into a monogamy relationship, because people adjust to the situation. People really don't change.